Hey everyone, it's Mike Swig here, and if you're interested in potentially selling your business, or even if you're just looking to really streamline your business for a potential exit in the future, you're going to want to stick around because in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can potentially get hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra money in a potential exit. So I'm going to share with you my top 6 tips, and I've learned these tips over the past 5 years of working in the online business brokerage industry and helping buyers and sellers broker more than $120 million worth of online businesses through one of the world's biggest online business brokerages. So now I currently have my own portfolio and I'm working with groups of buyers and sellers to help make sure that they get the most money out of their exit, and also working with buyers to make sure that they find a deal that's right for their skill sets. So you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to share with you my top 6 tips for preparing your business for a potential exit. And even if you're not going to exit your business, these 6 tips are going to make your business so much more efficient. It's going to reduce a lot of your stress and just overall make your business a lot better and prepare it to get way more money in an exit. So stick around to the end, and I'm going to share with you at the very end my favorite resource for any entrepreneur to read. You're going to want to grab a copy of this book after you watch this video. So I'll share some of the videos and some of the insights from that book as well. So let's go ahead and dig into my online business exit strategy that's going to earn you hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra money for a potential exit. Starting off at number 1 is reducing your workload. No buyer in their right mind is going to want to buy a business that you're working 40, 50 hours on. They don't want to buy a job. They're looking to buy a business that has a lot of these core tasks outsourced to other team members, to virtual assistants, or if you're not able to do that, automating a lot of those hours of your job. So that way a new buyer can take over this business and they're not going to want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a 40 or 50 hour a week job. So that is one of the most important things, is limiting your hours, figuring out ways to either outsource or automate these crucial parts of your business. So that way you're just managing your business. You're not necessarily running the day-to-day stuff, because a business is going to be really hard to sell to somebody if you're working 40 to 50 hours a week. A good time to really reduce it to is probably, depending on the size, going to be around under 5 to 10 hours a week. Anything more than that is going to be really difficult in an exit. Reducing the time is going to make your business so much more valuable, and it's going to make it sellable. If you are working way too much on your business, I always recommend figuring out what tasks you can automate. Then if you can't automate it, outsource. If you can't outsource, then try hiring a team member to take over that task in that progression. And this is going to really help in a few ways. 1, it's going to give you a much higher valuation. 2, it's going to open you to so many more buyers that are looking for a semi-passive business to acquire. And then again, it's going to really just make the exit process a lot smoother. Moving in at number 2, if you're looking to really increase that valuation of your business, you're going to need to do one thing, and that is increase your profit. And there's a lot of quick ways that you can go about doing this. 1 is just increasing your prices. 2 is starting new marketing campaigns or initiatives. So with paid traffic, maybe you're writing blog posts or some type of inbound marketing strategy that's going to gain you a lot more customers and increase your profit for the business. Now, every online business that's going to be sold is going to be coming down to how much monthly net profit you're making over an average period of 6 to 12 months. So you really need to focus on making sure that you're increasing your profit. And there's a lot of interesting techniques that you can do to make sure that your business is getting more profitable over time. A lot of buyers are going to want to see a slight increase in profit month over month and year over year. If your business is not trending in the right direction, then it's going to be really hard to sell a declining asset. So moving on to number 3, if you've kind of pursued every avenue that you can think of, you've tried all the different marketing strategies, you've exhausted paid advertisements and everything else that you can think of, the other option is to reduce your expenses. And this is one of the things that a lot of sellers don't actually think about. They're not really combing through their books. So making sure that you're looking for these unnecessary business expenses. And this can be things like maybe you're paying for software that you're not using anymore, or you can switch to a yearly plan versus a monthly plan. Any way that you can really reduce your expenses is going to increase that profit margin and give you a higher valuation on your business. A few other options are just having somebody comb through your books, seeing what's essential, seeing what's not. And there's a lot of sellers out there that aren't actually taking care of their P&L, their profit and loss statements. They're not really digging through the finances. You need to do a monthly audit to see what you're spending on your business, keeping track of that, and getting rid of anything that's unessential. So what I would do and what I recommend is just looking at your expenses, taking a really close look at any of those larger expenses and seeing what other alternatives you could use to fulfill that expense. One example could be, let's say you're spending $1,000 a month on a certain software. Maybe there's some alternatives out there. Maybe you can actually ask for a discount or pay a yearly fee instead of monthly and really reduce those costs. So there's a lot of ways to get creative in reducing those expenses over time. And you really need to fine tune. If you've already exhausted all the ways to increase profit, another option is to reduce your expenses. And that kind of segues onto our next point. Tip number 4 is to look into add backs. And this is something that a lot of sellers kind of get confused on. This part is when you're filling out your P&L, when you're putting together your numbers, there's going to be certain expenses that a new buyer wouldn't necessarily need to take on to necessarily run that business. One good example of this is, let's say you've ordered a bunch of content in the early days to get your website or business ranking for certain search terms. Since you've already spent thousands of dollars on this, maybe you ordered 100 different articles for $10,000. Moving on forward, the buyer really only needs to add 1 article a month. So instead of that initial expense, that would be considered an add back, where a new buyer wouldn't need to be spending, $10,000 to get that content. They would only need to be spending a few $100s every month to produce content and to continue maintaining that business. So that's something to consider, is what are those expenses that are going to be considered as an add back. You're going to want to highlight those because in an exit, these add backs are going to become crucial for making sure your profit margins are as high as possible. And that way you're getting the highest valuation that you can. Moving on to tip number 5 is knowing your numbers. There's so many sellers out there who think they're making, $10,000 a month in profit, but after talking to their bookkeeper, after going through all of the expenses, ordering more inventory for their business, whatever it might be, a lot of times the profit that they're actually making isn't exactly what is going on. So I've worked with some people, or I've seen in some cases where they thought they were making $15,000 a month in profit, but after combing through the P&L, looking at all those software costs, paid advertisement costs, inventory costs, they're only earning around $10,000 a month, and that $5,000 can make a big difference in your overall valuation price. So making sure you know the numbers inside and out, because any new buyer is going to be combing through those numbers, making sure that everything adds up, making sure that the trajectory of your business is on the right path. And again, if you don't have these numbers down, it's going to be really difficult to sell your business. And having these figures down will help you figure out where your money's going and will help you get a better understanding of how to improve the valuation of your business. And this can earn you hundreds of thousands of dollars or more in a potential exit. And number 6 is creating SOPs. Again, with any sort of exit, there's going to be some sort of training period where the seller is going to be needing to train the new buyer. Normally, this is a 30-day to 60-day period with email, maybe some periodic phone calls to help train the person. You're going to want to have an SOP, which is a standard operating procedure for every crucial step of your business. Essentially, this is a document that's a step-by-step process. It can include some screen shares, some videos, some text, some images and screenshots. And essentially what you want to do is every major step to run the business, create an SOP for that aspect. And it should be written for a stranger off the street could sit down and read this document without knowing anything about online businesses and figure it out on their own. It might take them a little while to figure it out, but they should be able to do it almost autonomously. And this is going to make your business so much more appealing to potential buyers because they're going to have all this training data. And it's going to make your life so much easier during this transition period because you're not going to have to answer all these questions that might come up during this transition. You can reference them to, hey, this is an SOP number 2, and you can just follow that. If they have further questions, it'll kind of really substitute your training experience and make things a lot easier for the selling experience. And this will open you up to a wider range of buyers. So those are my top 6 tips. And if you're interested in selling your business, I'm going to leave some links below in the description where you can actually set up a free seller consultation with me, and I'll go ahead and look through your business, give you some practical advice to potentially exit in 3 to 6 months. These calls have helped sellers gain more than $200,000 on average an extra value for when they go to sell their business. So they are very valuable, and a simple 30-minute call could potentially gain you thousands of dollars or more when you exit your business. So I'll leave the details below in the description so you can apply to set up one of these calls. Now, finally, moving on to the last part, if you've made it this far, you're gonna wanna pick up this book, because that means that you are a committed entrepreneur who's looking to sell their business and run a business as best as possible. Now, the book is called Built to Sell: Creating a Business That Can Thrive Without You. This book is written by John Warrillow, and essentially it's a business parable about how to create a startup that won't trap you when you want to sell it. Now, this book is absolutely essential for any entrepreneur who's looking to build an online business and potentially sell it. The core gist of the book is no matter what you're planning to do, you should build your business like you're wanting to sell it in the future. It's going to make it a lot more efficient. It's going to make it a lot less stressful to run this business if you structure it in the right way. And then if you do come time to want to sell this business, you're going to already achieve a lot of the essential steps to make sure that you get the maximum value in an exit. So I'll go ahead and leave details below about how you can get this book on Amazon. Now, this is a must buy for any entrepreneur that has a business out there. I highly recommend reading it and trying to implement some of the things. Now, if you made it this far, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification icon to get notified about the 2 new pieces of content that I'm putting out every week. Now, if you learned something new in this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and I appreciate your support. You'll find all the links that I discussed below in the description, and take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day.